Hey there, everyone. I'm Jason. I'm going to double check that we are live and going here. Let me pull it up on Facebook. I know the one time that I don't check is the one time that it will not work. So we don't want that to happen. It looks like we are good to go. Yes, there we are. Exciting. I appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure that you say hi in the comments. Let us know where you are from. So, hey there, I'm Jason Logston, and this is Exploring Sous Vide. We're all about helping you get the most out of your sous vide machine while talking to some of the biggest names in the industry. And remember, you can join us live every Thursday when we record these episodes. You can ask the guest questions, talk to the other cooks in the comments, and even see our smiling faces. So join us Thursdays at afmeasy.com/show. Today's sponsor is the International Sous Vide Day, which is organized and presented by CREA and Cuisine Solutions. International Sous Vide Day is celebrated every year on January 26th, which is the birthday of Dr. Bruno Gussot. If you don't know him, he is the original pioneer of sous vide. It's amazing. Someone actually came up with the concept of sous vide way back in the day. So he's the pioneer of modern sous vide. And the art of sous vide spans the globe. It crosses borders and boundaries to connect people through beautiful meals. On International Sous Vide Day, they bring the art of sous vide to the forefront, celebrating culinary innovators and the work they do to inspire and transform the dining experience. This year, we're gathering virtually, of course, around the globe to celebrate and share in 50 years of sous vide innovation, as 2021 marks 50 years since Bruno Gussot first began working with the technique. This new fad that everyone talks about just came about, 50 years old. And for more information, you can check that out at internationalsousvideday.com. I will paste the link over there. And I've attended several of the International Sous Vide Day festivities, as well as my guest today has, and there are always a blast. I can't wait to see how they're handling it virtually this year, but I'm sure they're going to do a great job, even if they won't be handing out infused cocktails for us all to drink. And we actually have a special Exploring Sous Vide episode on Tuesday next week, when we're going to have AJ Schaller and Gerard Berthelon coming on and talking a little bit about International Sous Vide Day, and I'll be grilling them about all their other sous vide interests. So be sure to check that out. They are two of the biggest names in sous vide, and perhaps the two most knowledgeable people about sous vide, maybe even in the world. So you want to make sure you check them out next Tuesday at 6:30 Eastern. Should be a great time. So on to the show. Those of you joining us live, say hi in the comments. We got Darren Wilson there saying that I need to comb my hair, which I do, but I figured with today's guest, I didn't want to look too good because, showing him up is easy enough as it is. Richard Jensen, how's it going, Richard? Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. We got my dad, Gary Logston, and Barb Logston, both joining us from Philly. If anyone else is out there, say hi. Looks like we got a good amount of viewers, so let us know. And throughout this, ask questions, because we always like passing them along to our guest. So on to the show. Part of the joy of learning new cooking techniques is being able to share them with others. And sous vide is no exception. You can share with your friends, with people online, or now with a like-minded community of sous vide enthusiasts. And today's guest is the perfect person to show us how that works. He's a conference, meeting, and event strategist, and also a home cook who loves experimenting with new methods and technology. He started cooking sous vide in 2015 and has become an integral part of his daily cooking routine. As co-founder of the International Sous Vide Association, he's excited to help create a network not only to share knowledge with each other and learn from the foremost experts in the field, but also to facilitate in-person engagement through conferences, meetups, and other means. A lot of which is virtual this year, but that is the original purpose behind the International Sous Vide Association. And so I'm excited to welcome and can't wait to learn from today's guest, Mike La Charite from the International Sous Vide Association. Mike, welcome to Exploring Sous Vide.
Hey, thanks for finally having me on after 6.5 months?
We made it actually almost a full year, I think, of doing the show before I was forced to do one with you. Here's good avoiding you for a while, but
I know I was quite impressed. Half of that was me suggesting guests.
That's true, just so you wouldn't have to go on.
Exactly, but always fun. I'm glad to be here.
We have Christian Arfston saying hi in the comments. How's it going, Christian? Great having you on a few weeks ago. We got Ron Miller, who lives in San Francisco, and we keep canceling on him. Yes, Ron.
I'm sorry, Ron.
We'll get into that a little bit, but yes, it is not been. We're still looking forward to being in San Francisco at some point. So
yes.
Just hang in there with us, and we will hopefully be seeing you in person in a year or so. But,
exactly.
So I can't wait to dive into all things sous vide, talk about what you've been up to, talk about what the ISVA has been up to. But first, I'm sure this will come as a shock to you, but I always like to ask, what is it like around your dinner table on a typical day?
I love this question. My dinner table typically starts at 5 o'clock when I pick my kids up at school. And it usually involves my 6-year-old getting in the car and going, "Dad, are you cooking tonight?" I say yes. And he goes, "Ah." So that's typically the start of my dinner afternoon. But it really depends. If my wife's working, I usually try to keep it really simple or take out on up. It usually involves, if she's home, some aspect of stop taking pictures and bring the food over here so we can eat.
I can relate to that. What is your son want to eat as opposed to your cooking? Because I've seen your pictures and what you do, and I want to eat what you're making.
He wants McDonald's cheeseburgers, pizza, and pretty much he'll eat sushi, which I haven't. I need to learn from Chef Kai how he does the sushi. It's hilarious because Jordan loves talking about, like I said the other day, "Hey, I'm going to make ice cream," and he goes, "Oh, it's going to be sous vide ice cream, right?" So he has a great time getting in the kitchen. He says sous vide everything now. He's just become so picky. He doesn't want to eat anything. And it really doesn't matter if it's mine or anybody else's.
I mean, it's hard to argue with McDonald's cheeseburgers. I was born and raised on those bad boys, and dipping some French fries in the sweet and sour sauce, and I was in heaven back in the day growing up.
Yep, you really that's my sick food. That's the hey, your stomach's upset, McDonald's cheeseburger is what you want. I don't know why, but that's my family's thing.
I tend to do that too because I figure it'll make my stomach hurt anyway. So if it already hurts, I might as well eat Taco Bell or McDonald's or
exactly.
They are not sponsors of this program, and apparently now they will never be. But
so are we going to do like a sous vide Taco Bell and McDonald's secrets book? We could recreate all their recipes.
We'll have to sign that up for sure.
I love it.
Ron Miller wants to know if the Juicy Lucy is high on the menu. That's always a favorite, I know.
He actually does really like burgers. So if I make cheeseburgers, he's usually happy, but it's still not McDonald's. I don't know. I'll take it.
Kevin Koo's on here. He says, my kind of palate right there. It's it's I wasn't always the refined professional sous videist that you see before me. That was years and years of hard work by my wife trying to mold me into something that is competent and has some semblance of taste. She'd be the first to tell you there's a long way to still go before I get there all the way.
I can tell you can still see some of those old McDonald's days, just so you know.
Yeah, it's back in the day, I had a high metabolism and I was like 155 pounds eating fast food like 4 times a week. I don't know what happened now that I eat healthy and work out more, and suddenly I'm 70 pounds over that.
Yeah, my kid is also extremely light. He's like, both of my kids are like the first to second percentile for their weight. So they're like, "We can eat cheeseburgers. The doctor said put extra butter on everything that you make us." And I'm like, "No, you still have to eat healthy."
Darren says, "Mike, you got a haircut, looking good there." It's first thing Darren notices is he's the haircut police.
I think there's a slight hair obsession there that we don't know about. But no, it's funny. Actually, just on Monday, my own professional barber shears showed up just so I could do the sideburns and cut the front off that was like down to here. And that's all it took. And now, the beautiful, handsome, strapping lad before you, just a couple little slices.
Yeah. Anyone that's joining us for the first time, this is Mike looking as good as he ever looks. That's the statement.
Shaved for you.
Wow, I forgot to shave. I was just on Firewater cooking with Darren, and I was like, I got to come looking good because I know Darren's going to call me out if my hair is messed up, if I don't have the right shirt on. It's a lot of stress going on there.
all of these shows, man. I mean, I even did my makeup. No, I'm kidding. I didn't
Uh,
go that far for you. Maybe for Darren.
yeah. So let's jump right into the big ISVA news. Can you update us on the in-person conference and the virtual summits
Yeah.
for this year?
Absolutely. So we did make the decision, and we wanted to make it early. We had conversations with a lot of potential, people who have attended in the past, a lot of our sponsors, and we just felt that even if vaccine rollout keeps going at this pace, and it's starting to roll out, to the masses by May or June, people are still not going to be comfortable to travel and gather, and safety is our number one priority. Like, we want to make sure everybody's safe. My wife has seen what this virus does to people, in the hospital. So we did make the decision. We're pushing the in-person conference off to July 6th through 8th of 2022. So those dates are set in stone. They are, well, COVID willing, but they are contracted at the hotel. So we have those dates. And then we're going to do a virtual summit July 8th through 10th is the in-person 2022. August 6th through 8th, 2021 is the virtual. I've got all my dates everywhere. But so we're really excited about it. I mean, I for one was shocked at the level of engagement we were still able to have online. At this last virtual conference we did, I made some new friends, even though we couldn't gather personally. There was still that sense of camaraderie, and everybody's still enjoying hanging out together. So I think it's going to be another awesome time. And then potentially, if things open up, we're looking at some regional in-person events on a smaller scale around the country. So that's kind of what's coming this year. We're very excited about it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to like we talked about, Mike and I made this decision, as part of the team, and looking at, we're like, there is a chance that this could happen in July, but no sponsors are going to commit, no attendees are going to commit before we know it's safe. And so that would just make it really hard to put on the type of show that we want to put on for everyone. We had such a good time in year one, and just, the Wagyu beef reception, the Crea reception. We want to make sure that we keep that going, and we don't want to, try to force it in there and not have a good time. Especially the live event was so much fun. Ron Miller says the virtual happy hour was a ball. Shirts optional for in some of the happy hours.
That's going to be in the terms, everybody, this year. Shirts are not optional, so we won't have any surprises this year.
So we're looking forward to, we think we can do another good virtual event. We'll just put our energy into that, make sure we have a good one. And then, like Mike said, if things do open up at the end of the year, it's a lot faster to organize a half day or a 1 day kind of a smaller get together, like a regional event. And we have a bunch of ideas that we're going to start running by some of our sponsors and some of the speakers that we know, to see if we can do them in their neighborhoods and, take advantage of that. And that might be a way for us to not all of us at once get together, but, various pockets of us kind of bridge the gap between now and the big in-person event next year.
Yep. Hey, I haven't been on a plane since February. I am jonesing to get going. So if my fall is jetting around city to city to meet all of you wonderful people, I will consider that a very successful end to the year.
That shows how many friends Mike has, that he has to fly around the country to meet people he talks sous vide with online to get his social engagement.
That was the low blow.
Yeah. I mean, you talk to me enough, so I know how low your bar is if you can deal with me on a daily basis.
There's a reason we're moving back to California in June.
So I know it's in the preliminary planning stages right now, but what does the virtual conference look like this year? What type of things can we expect compared to last year?
Yeah. So one of the things I'm really excited about is we last year sprinkled in the session for the professionals kind of throughout the weekend. And this year we're going to go for a much more dedicated time for our professional friends. We saw a lot of growth from year one to year two in the professional market, just in people coming. And we're really excited. I think we're going to be able to offer continuing education, the ACF credit hours. So the pro sessions should be accredited for continuing education hours, which will be awesome. And on the other side, I think we are we're really focused on, we really enjoyed all the sessions last year, but especially I think the demos were really neat. The cook along events were very fun and engaging, seeing both sides of that with the Juicy Lucy and then a sort of really high profile prep for a week lunch. That was really cool. So lots more of those opportunities. I think more demos and those kind of things will be part of it.
We got Chef Johnny joining us here in the comments. How's it going, Chef? Nice to see you again. He had a really good episode on the Exploring Sous Vide show a month or two back. It was great having him on.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm excited for the demos. I'm really excited for that we're going to be doing, I think, less presentations than last time, which a lot of people, we'd have 3 or 4 tracks going on at once. And so people couldn't follow everything that was going on. Yep. So we're trying to streamline it and kind of simplify what we have while still, I think we had 36 sessions last year, maybe cut that down to 25 sessions, and it's still a heck of a lot of content, but people can kind of get a better feel for what's out there and all be in the same type of session instead of jumping around all the time like we did last year.
Yep. And I mean, less sessions means less Jason. So that's always the plus as well.
Yeah. It's always it's a win-win for everyone.
Exactly.
So we'll have more, I'm sure, coming up about that as we figure it out. It seemed like the cook-along lunches, people enjoyed those. So if you did enjoy those, let us know in the comments, and we'll be sure to do a few more of those because we're thinking of expanding on that a little bit because it did seem to be a crowd favorite. And maybe we're pulling some new chefs as well to help teach some fun stuff.
Absolutely. And really, I mean, like, just to expand on what you just said, I mean, we do this for the community. So please, guys, let us know what you want. Like, if there's certain chefs or home cooks that are doing really cool things that you want to hear from, and we'll talk about that in conjunction with, some of the other stuff we're doing. But, we want this to be an amazing weekend for everybody. So let us know what you want. Let us know what topics are most interesting. We have a lot of really fantastic people that can talk about a wide range of subjects. So, let us know what you want to hear, and we'll work on it. And to Darren's point there, Kevin has upgraded Wi-Fi now, so I don't think we'll have another Wegmans parking lot presentation.
And we'll probably do like we do for the showcases, and we'll do a recorded videos with bringing the people on for Q&A afterwards, because that seems to be a lot smoother technically, and it gets rid of a lot of the hiccups for the critical content. So hopefully that will help some of the sound issues, help some of the internet glitch issues, and kind of smooth that out for everyone's experience as well. Yep.
I also think this year we will do a better job at coming up with some sort of pre-event engagement. We had the contest with Crea last year that came around sort of to the end. So now thinking about those things, we can plan those in advance a little bit more because we made the decision early. So hopefully, we'll have some fun opportunities even before the weekend kicks off to sort of engage with each other.
Hey, we got Tiago joining us. How's it going, Tiago? We were just talking about the in-person event that it's delayed for a year. We're doing the virtual event. So he said, "What did I miss showing up late?" You can watch a replay of this at any time on the ISVA Facebook videos page. So we have a lot more exciting ISVA news. We want to talk about a lot of what we have going on this year. But first, I want to talk burgers. I mean, you eat more burgers than anyone I know. And I used to eat before the pandemic hit a lot of burgers. So that's impressive that you do more than me. What is it about a burger that just calls to you?
They're just fun. I mean, a burger to me is just like a blank canvas that you can do so much with. And I think what really got me into them was when we did the first Champions book. And I don't even know where the idea came from, but it was just a matter of, hey, we eat piccata. Actually, what it was, I was in a piccata phase. Like, I was putting capers in everything, and we've
all been gone through a piccata phase there.
That's right.
It's as a cook, you have to go through that before you hit cooking adulthood.
Exactly. And I had a ton of capers, and I was like, why couldn't I put these in a burger and do piccata in a burger? And that was really the first, like, oh my God, there is so much here I could do with this outside of just toppings, I mean, just taking dishes and figuring out how do I burgerify this. And then when I had never done a Juicy Lucy before, Chef Eric did one at the summit, and I was like, oh man, that just opened up a whole new world. So I think the first one I did maybe a week or two after the summit was a lasagna burger, and I made the ricotta cheese in the sous vide and then stuffed it with that, made a homemade tomato sauce, put that on the inside, and oh man, it was just it's like the it's kind of like the Willy Wonka where he wanted a whole meal and a stick of gum. Like you get the whole meal, but it's in the joy of just this little compact edible package.
I actually had your lasagna burger queued up there without even planning ahead of time. There is the lasagna burger. I mean, like your burgers are, let's call them inventive, right? You did the stuffed lasagna burger. You've done a Maryland style steak Oscar stuffed burger. Where do you come up? Do you just think like, oh, well, I like this dish and can I cram it into a hamburger? Like, how do you come up with the ways to combine these?
That's kind of it. It's like I sort of had this, let's take some classic dishes, and then David LaForce jumped on board with me, and I think after I posted, it might have been the Milanese burger, but I posted it, and then David was like, oh man, I'm going to do a beef bourguignon burger, and it just started this hey, let's look at what flavors work really well together, and let's see how we do it. Whether for this one. It wasn't quite where I wanted it to be. It was really good, but it needed a little more crab. I didn't have my Juicy Lucy technique down right where it was enough of a pocket inside. Mm-hmm. But it's like, okay, I could put all the crab on top, but then it's going to fall off. How do you solve that problem? You stick it inside.
It reminds me of talking to Chef De La Gosse when he was talking about the Michigan pasties.
Yep.
That he's like, well, basically, it's a sandwich that's easier to carry around and eat. It's like a whole meal in your hand, and I feel like that's what your burgers are. It's like instead of having a big sloppy meal, you can just pick it up and eat it one bite after the other.
Exactly.
So Tiago wants to know: have you ever tried a crab cake burger or a shrimp patty?
So funny story on the shrimp. I was going to do, my wife came home from work late one night and was starving, and I had nothing in the house but frozen shrimp. I always have frozen shrimp. So I did these like little Cuban shrimp, put a little cumin and some lime juice and a little orange juice. And she's like, oh my God, these were incredible. So a few days later, like, okay, I'm going to make that into a burger, and we're going to do like a Cuban shrimp mojo burger sort of thing. And I bought the shrimp, I made the patties, I put them in the fridge, and I got the worst like stomach illness that I've had in a really long time. And I was out for like 3 days, so they went bad. So I never got to eat them. So it's on my list to redo. I have done a lot of fish burgers, and salmon works really well. I did one with the striped bass, here, the rockfish in Maryland. And the trick with them that I've found is you cube it all up, but then you puree in a food processor about maybe a third of it, so it gets really fine, and then just mix in by hand the rest of it. So that way you still get the big chunks of fish, but you don't need to add egg, you don't need to add breadcrumbs. That like pureed fish holds it all together, so there's really no fillers in it.
When you do fish, what time and temp do you generally do for patties?
I usually do so for whitefish, typically 132, and then usually 45 minutes or so, depending on how thick I made it. If it's thinner, 30 to 45. I cook it pretty much like I would a piece of fish. Mm-hmm. And then I'll give it a sear at the end, where typically with sous vide fish, I don't always do that step. Salmon, I do a little lower, maybe like I'm trying to think. It's been a while since I've done a sous vide salmon burger. I think I did like 125, and then same thing, a sear at the end.
So for people out there that are interested in doing sous vide burgers, what's one tip or one thing that you think they need to do to kind of get the most out of it, or to really see the benefits of the sous vide style?
Well, this is not a paid advertisement, but the Anova Precision Oven is freaking amazing for sous vide style burgers because you don't have to bag them. But for just with a circulator, I form the patties, I throw them in the freezer for an hour so they get, nice and firm, and then I can vacuum seal them. Mm-hmm. And I think the most important thing is to have an even thickness. I always used to hand form my patties, and I bought a patty press just because I think that uniform thickness and making sure you're not doing thin, patties, but they're a good, inch thick. I think those are the keys to getting it really good. And then of course, super hot and fast sear so you don't overcook it, because it's often a little thinner than a steak is going to be.
What do you do for your ground beef? What type of what temperature hamburger guy are you?
135 is my go-to.
So and nice and pink, a little red in the middle, but not that kind of medium rare bright red.
Exactly. So I go just above that. And then I do a lot of chicken and turkey too, and I cook those at 140. So I have some very interesting patties in my freezer that right now that I'm going to be trying. So I just went on sort of I had to buy some venison for the next showcase. And so I'm like, what else? We've got some ground yak, some ground kangaroo, ground emu. I have some camel.
What's your go-to time and temperature for yak, Mike? I want to know. It's a very controversial. Everyone feels very strongly about their preferred yak time and temperature. So I'd love to know what yours is.
So yak and kangaroo, I cook just like beef. So, exactly 135. Same with elk. Any like red meat venison is going to work around that temperature. I haven't done camel before. I have some camel in there that I'm going to be doing what I'm hoping is a Moroccan spiced camel patty with like a smoked baba ganoush. I'm going to confit the eggplant and the garlic sous vide, and then make a baba ganoush out of that, and then use the smoking gun to infuse that a bit. So I'm excited for that. I think I'll cook it like beef as well. I got to check with our resident wild game expert, Justice, and see.
Justice Stewart of Wild Game fame.
And I love some of these comments. I actually was thinking about combining the yak and the kangaroo to do a yakaroo burger. I thought that would be kind of fun.
What type of puns can we come up with on all of your wild game and exotic meats?
Exactly.
So I of course laughed when you said what was in your freezer, because it's a running joke between us that I basically eat like Midwest proteins, basic proteins, and you'll eat anything with 4 legs or maybe even 2 legs or that swims. What is your favorite non-traditional meat that you eat?
Kangaroo is amazing. I mean, I love kangaroo, and all of our Aussie buddies can totally attest to that. The loins are just like a beef tenderloin, and I've done, you cook it like a beef tenderloin, sear it off, and that's great. But then I took some of the leftovers and made a little hash with it, the next day, and then put a soft poached egg on top, and it's got a sweetness to it that's really good. I also really like elk. Also maybe a little sweeter than beef would be. But any of those wild game meats, I'm a fruit guy, like fruit sauces, fruit desserts. That's kind of my thing. And I love wild game because the fruit sauces are where it's at as far as pairings go. So it sounds funny. IKEA lingonberry jam works really well on like duck, elk, any of that stuff. Yeah, Darren, I have a supplier for lion meat, but it's about $3,000. So I don't think I'll be doing that anytime soon.
The upcoming sponsor at the 2022 conference will be the lion meat guys. It'd be a different reception. I think people would get a kick out of it.
I would love to do a wild game slider bar at one of the receptions. I just think that would be so much fun. And each chef could kind of put their little spin on it and teach people. I love all these little foods that are getting thrown out. I would eat just about anything. The only thing I won't eat anymore is bat. That's off my list. But bat and insects for my two. No, I'm not trying that. But pretty much anything else.
So when you get something like that, is most of the temperatures the same as beef or pork? That is like that idea. The meat breaks down around the same temperature, regardless of the type of animal.
Yeah, in general, it's very similar. The only one that I need to experiment with more, I had some alpaca shanks, and I cooked them like 165 for an hour, and I did a Benedict with them. And I thought, it'd be just moist, shreddable, and it was still super tough at that temperature. So, or at that time, I should say. So I haven't bought more yet because I have enough other stuff to experiment with, but those are definitely on my list to try again and see. I don't know if it's because they're maybe more lean than traditional beef shank would be, or lamb shank, but that one surprised me. But in general, they go right hand in hand.
What's one that the taste really stuck out for you? It could have been good, it could have been bad, but some things, like I've had venison, and like you said, it tastes like a little bit sweeter beef, but it's very similar. It's like chicken and turkey; they taste pretty similar with the little differences.
Yeah.
But what's one that you're like, this is unique, this is interesting?
I still don't know if I had just a weird cut or something, but I did an antelope flat iron, and it was one of the first things I posted on Instagram. I did these antelope tacos, and when it came out of the bag, even going in, I'm like, something just smells off. Like, not in a like, hey, I'm gonna get sick and be throwing up for a week, but it just had a weird sort of vibe to it. And then when I pulled it out, it was also the same. It was like, something just smells weird, but I'm still going to go with it. And it tasted great. I mean, it was super gamey. So that's why I say, I talked to Justice and he's like, I don't know, the antelope I've had is not very gamey. But that one had a really strong flavor. And I don't know if it was, like I said, just the cut or whatever. I actually have some ground antelope for a burger, and I have some antelope ribs in the freezer to I was so mad. I was going to do a fig barbecue sauce with the antelope ribs, and then things got so crazy in the fall. I missed fig season.
Oh no!
So I need to figure out a fig barbecue sauce with dried figs.
We got a lot of people extolling the virtues of how good goat is in the comments. I know that's a big. Most of my goat was in Jamaica when we were at roadside jerk stands. Great stuff. Around there. And Tiago says he has to take us out to Mexico City for some crispy scorpions and mezcal shots. I'm 100% down for half of that equation. I'll let you figure out what half sounds best to me.
I'm with you. It's funny, at the NRA show, that National Restaurant Association show in 2019 that I went to, I think it was Progressive Insurance. They had an eating challenge, and they were handing out scorpion, pickled pig's feet, and one other thing. And I'm like, no, the pickled pig's feet I can do, but there's just something about eating an insect that just does not work with my brain. Sorry, Tiago, but I'll do mezcal shots with you all night.
The few times that I've had insects, they just kind of tasted bland and like got in my teeth. I don't know. There was like not enjoyable from any standpoint. So I've had other things I don't like the texture, but the flavor was good, or the flavor is bland, but the texture is interesting. Yeah. They just seem to be bringing nothing to the table outside of, I understand as a cheap source of protein, it has like great benefits for feeding people and, wonderful things like that. But as far as me going out of my way to eat it as a spoiled, privileged person living in Brooklyn, it wasn't high on my list.
There's a restaurant here in Baltimore that supposedly was doing for a while a tarantula burger. They'd put a whole tarantula on top of the patty. And I just think of like biting into that big fat body and just no.
So I guess I'll start saying that you will eat anything with 4 legs or less. That's
yes, except bats. They have 2. so that's my thing. No cricket burgers. I can't. I mean, if it was like, now they make that cricket protein powder where it's like mixed in, and I mean, that wouldn't bother me. I mean, I've had blood pudding ice cream. Like I eat weird things, but they also had an ice cream. It's Salt and Straw in Portland. They had one with chocolate covered crickets in it, and I'm like, no, I'm just not going there.
So you're a huge fan of burgers. So when are we doing a sous vide showcase on burgers? Do you know that?
May is our burger showcase, and hopefully, if I can get my act together, there will be a burger cookbook coming out along with it. That's the goal. That.
So if people don't know, the sous vide show. What are you laughing
Sorry,
at?
I'm laughing at Christian's comment. If they had sous vide the bats, we wouldn't be in this mess. Very true. Pasteurization.
Yes, if pasteurization would have been followed, I think that's the only thing, in our currently divided country we can agree on, is that sous vide is the only thing that can truly stop the coronavirus. If we would have gone with that earlier, it would have been perfect.
Sous vide in the hand of every citizen of the world. That's our goal.
So
New mission.
So for those of you that don't know, the Sous Vide Showcases are they're a monthly event that the ISVA has been putting on. We gather 5 to 10 chefs and home cooks who all contribute demos of some of their favorite dishes, and then we tie it all together into a free live event. IMC it. We bring on a bunch of the chefs to do Q&As after. A lot of the people in the comments, Tiago and Darren, have done some stuff. Can't remember if Kevin has done one or not, but we definitely need to get you on there. Chef Johnny, Christian, you're all invited to do demos at the upcoming showcases. And it's something we've really enjoyed doing because we got to see so many different dishes. We pick an interesting theme. Like Mike said, we have burgers coming up in May. We have romantic date night coming up at the end of this month. Should be really fun, prepping you for February. So Mike, what's been your favorite showcase so far?
Oh gosh, they've all been fun. I mean, the dessert one was awesome. I think there was so much variety. I mean, from you did alcohol gummies, which I thought were amazing. I actually bought all the stuff, and I know Richard Jensen sort of went. Richard, I think, right? It was you that went crazy and made like 3 different iterations in 2 days. That was awesome. Darren, I have Gator in my freezer, so that might be coming.
Eyes up here, Mike. Stop focusing on the comments. Get your eyes up here. I'm conducting this interview, Michael. You behave. This is why you haven't been on for the first year of the show.
Exactly. I never behave. Desserts was really good. Tiago's pot de creme looked amazing. Lloyd's pumpkin eggnog cheesecake looked fantastic. I love eggnog. Nobody else in my family will touch the stuff. So that's a way I could buy it and then sneak it into a dessert to use it up. And, they wouldn't even know it's there. But yeah, that one was a lot of fun.
I think my favorite was the best of 2021 since we had the format nailed down by then. So there was no stress for me, and I was nice and relaxed for the whole time. It was, that was a much more enjoyable one. It went very smoothly.
Yeah. Not so much to the guy that had to edit all the videos 3 days before.
Yeah. I appreciate all your work.
That was a little crazier. But that one was lots of fun too. I think just the diversity of them has been really cool. Everybody brings something different to the table.
What has been your favorite dish, you think, across all the different ones?
Oh my gosh.
Yes, Darren, pig wings was everyone's favorite dish in demo. Darren did a great pig wings demo for the, I think it was the best of 2021. Yeah, it wouldn't have been desserts. Best of 2020. That was a very good demo and made me very hungry. I think I heated up some leftovers during your demo because I couldn't take it anymore going through without eating.
So I'm going to answer this, I think, by the one I most wanted to eat at the end of it. And from what I remember of them, I think it was Lisa Keys, the infusion showcase, that pear frangipane, however you say that tart. I just wanted to nosh that whole thing. That looks so good. Yeah,
that was amazing. She did the infused. She made the infused vodka that she then used in the pie crust, and then she made another infusion for the tart, and then baked the whole thing. That looked incredible.
Yeah, and then reduced the vodka into a glaze, the infusion with the juice from the pears that she poached, sous vide, and there were just so many levels to it, and it just looks so good.
I think I had 2 favorites. I think the one was Barry Tonkinson's from the Culinary Institute of Education, because he's just, I'm a home cook, and I'm a good home cook, probably a lot of you are listening, but I'm not a chef. I'm not especially a refined chef. And so watching Barry do this dish with 30 components in it, and he's like, okay, now you peel the grapes to then cut them to do the scales on the fish mousse that goes on top of the poached fish, and it was just so intricate, and it was really exciting for me to watch someone that's a master of their craft just go hog wild and assemble something together. That was one of my favorites. And the other, I think, was Tiago's smoke infused olive oil, because I use smoke and a smoking gun or a smoker, and it's fun to I do some stuff like that, and I'll use the smoking gun and put a little bit under a dome to smoke something, a little bit comes out. So I was like, oh, I'm curious to see how Tiago smokes his oil. He's like, so you take a big thing of oil, and then you take really hot charcoal and you throw it in the oil, and there's just smoke going everywhere. And I was like, that looks amazing. It was really cool to kind of see the exact opposite approach that I have. And, he's a pro and I'm not, and that's why.
Yeah. That blew my mind too. I was like, some of you may have seen, I think I posted it, my little lighting the pan of grapeseed oil on fire because it was too hot. And I was like, how did that olive oil not catch, from the charcoal? But yeah, that was really cool. There's been so many. I mean, I see most of the videos in advance, and I still enjoy sitting there with the showcases because they're just fun to watch.
So one of the things I've enjoyed, and we mentioned this, is that we highlight a bunch of different people.
Yep.
We have Barry, we have Dale Prince from Sous Vide Australia, who's a very accomplished chef, Chef David Petransic. Then we also have just home cooks like me, like you, Yep. So what we're always telling people, like, hey, do you have a demo that you want to do? We'd love to have you on. Just people that post in the Facebook groups, that post on Instagram, regular people, as we all call ourselves,
Yep.
And they always say, well, I don't think I'm qualified. I don't have the qualifications to do it. So to be really clear about it, Mike, what are the qualifications to do a demo for a sous vide showcase?
You need to be human. You need to have a recipe that you want to demo, and you need to have a phone or a laptop with QuickTime, laptop QuickTime, or just your phone camera that you can record it. That's it. And I'm telling you, if I can do it, and if I'm featured in these things, there is nobody less qualified to be on there than I am. So, I would love to highlight more people in the community. I mean, that's really what was at the heart of coming up with these. The whole concept was to highlight everybody out there doing really fun things with sous vide. And it especially with the professional crowd, that we seem like we're attracting, a larger number of professionals to follow us. I think home cooks sort of Dave Petransic said that home cooks are way more adventurous than chefs are. And I think sometimes we experiment with things that they haven't done. So even something that seems normal to me, like putting a burger in a sous vide circulator, there's still a group of people that may not have thought to do that or may not have ever tried it. So, I mean, anything works great.
Yep. I think that's exactly what we're looking for, is anyone that's excited to share what they have. And, we love highlighting very different people. So Patty says, Sebastian Jesperson in Denmark, if you have a contact info, post it in the comments or email Mike at the ISVA.org, and we would love to reach out. We're always excited to bring people in, and the easiest way we're going to find people to really continue making the virtual summit and the in-person summit incredible is by bringing in new names and talent. And part of that is having them come on for the showcase. We will have anyone on the showcase once, and if they are a pain in the butt and do a horrible job and just are jerks, then it'll probably just be the once. But we are fine having anyone on. And if you are interested and care, that's all that matters.
Yep.
I get so many comments because I'm a lot of times, the face of what we're doing.
Yep.
People say, well, I'm not qualified to do it. We have Lisa Keys, who says, I'm not a good enough cook to do it. And we finally convinced her to come out and do it. And I now have people say, well, I'm not as good as like Lisa Keys is, so there's no way that I can do it. And like Mike didn't want to do one, and now he's done them. People are like, well, I'm not even as good as Mike is at doing them. And it's like, every single person I talked to that has said, I'm not good enough, and then ended up doing one. Now other people are saying, well, I'm not as good as they are. So it's get out there, have some fun, share. It's food. Who cares? Get out there and just enjoy yourself.
I think what people are seeing, and they're not, when they're saying I'm not good enough, it's, all it took was a little courage to say, hey, this isn't my comfort zone, but I'm going to step out and do it anyway. And I think that's what is underneath, that people are they were able to do it. And it's like I said, if I can do it, anybody can do it. That would be, we would love to have some more people. Sebastian's amazing. I actually follow him, I think, on Instagram. He does some incredible stuff. Would love to have him on. So Patty, thank you for that connection. That'd be great.
And David LaForce says anyone. And I mean, David, we did start off our 2020 showcase with you just pouring alcohol into a glass and spritzing Coke on the top of it. So if we'll put David LaForce on, we will put anyone on. Darren says Norm, and I've talked to Norm and I gave him a standing invite. So, he is welcome. We aren't an exclusive community. So if anyone wants to come in, and as part of ISVA events, if you're respectful during those events, that's all we care about, and we like seeing everyone. So,
Yep.
Well, that's true, Darren. No one has looked at Darren's demos and said, "Well, I'm not as good as Darren." We all know we can do that as well as Darren does.
Yep. Kevin, it was Diet Coke, so he was after my heart. It's a man after my heart.
So, what showcases is coming up that you're most excited for? We have to highlight the ones that we have coming.
Okay, date night is going to be great. I'm really excited for February because it's sort of this like regional and global, however you look at regional. If it's a region of the United States, if you're in New Mexico, Johnny, and you want to do sopapillas or something, or if it's a region globally, I think that'll be really fun to see what people come up with in terms of just combining flavors. Yeah. After that, what is March? I know April we're doing seafood. May is burgers. After burgers is barbecue. And then we get into the end of the year, we're going to have meal prep, which I think is a really hot topic.
Yeah, going back into school, right?
Yep. Yep, exactly. So how can you make dinner on Sunday and then have lunches to, serve your kid for the rest of the week, and then into the holidays, we'll do some different holiday showcases.
Got the tailgating going into football season. Tailgating and party foods should be good.
That one will be, I'm hoping I can finally convince you to do one of your little Modernist sous vide party appetite. I have been trying to get Jason to do some Modernist techniques for 2 years, and he finally did the gummies. So that was something. But the Modernist stuff you do is amazing. And I am hopeful that we'll see some of that. And then
2 weeks from now, there's going to be a lot of Modernist talk because we have Scott from Modernist Pantry is going to be the guest on Exploring Sous Vide. So we're going to dive into a lot of the things that you can do with Modernist cooking and the ingredients and how a lot of it is pretty easy to do at home, which was a surprise to me when I figured it out and something that I try to preach out there. Richard Jensen and I always talk about all the amazing Modernist stuff that he's doing, and he shoots me pictures of it. It's always really cool to just I don't know, to see someone making spheres out of like mojitos and old fashions at home. It's great. Yep.
Can you make me a Diet Coke sphere?
Yes.
All right, let's do that. You might sell me. Yeah, and then I think the last one of the year is culinary classics, and that one I'm super excited about. I think just taking classic dishes and putting a sous vide spin on them. I'm expecting some really fun things coming out of that one.
So I know you're very excited because you recently bought an Innova oven. I know it's a controversial topic, and we're going to skip over the majority of the controversy because we've talked about that before. And we're just going to be talking about this from a actual sous vide, low temperature, so a low temperature precision standpoint, that aspect of the sous vide cooking. I know you couldn't take the stress of seeing all Cole's delicious posts. You're like, I have to get me one of those so I can try to keep up with Cole out there. Yep. How have you integrated the precision oven into your sous vide routine? Because I'm always curious. I don't have one. I probably don't have the counter space for one. So hearing what other people do with it always is interesting for me.
Yep. So to be honest, I use it more often than the circulators now. And the only reason for that is because it's already out. It's on my calendar. I have to just turn on. I use the circulators a lot still, obviously, but especially long cooks I do because I don't want to tie up the oven. But things that have been game changers for me, certainly burgers, not having to mess with them getting deformed in the water displacement method, or being able to do I think Cole calls it sous vide express, where you can probe it, cook it at a little higher temperature so that it pasteurizes or it gets to temp faster, and then you hold it to pasteurize. So they're done a lot faster. Doing fish in there has been awesome because it is way easier to get it off the pan than out of the bag.
And if people don't know what the like sous vide express, like what that means or does with the differential in the setting, you're going to have to turn in next week. We have Chef David Petranczyk on, and he's going to be the Polyscience Hydro Pro Plus.
Yep.
is just about to ship. And so I think it's next week he's coming on to demo some of the probe features and how that works and how temperature differentials can really speed up cooking. So it should be a pretty technical exploring sous vide, and I'll be sure to hammer him some questions about tiki drinks and his favorite cocktails and how to cook beans. But it's going to be a nice demo of some of that stuff. So me and him are going to dive into a lot more about how monitoring that core temperature can really speed up cooking, whether you're using a circulator, a precision oven. I know Darren hooked me up with the meat stick, like that you can just put into the bag. It's a waterproof wireless thermometer. So there's lots of ways you can do core temperature. That's one thing I think people forget, like the precision oven, proofing dough or doing a few things, like you can only do it in the precision oven because you don't want a bag, but 95% of the other stuff you can do in your circulator as well. It's like someone saying, well, you can't do that in your polyscience because this person did it in their sous vide supreme. Like they all kind of do the same thing. It's low temperature precision.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, I think where the APO really shines is it has a lot, there's a lot of steam oven capabilities outside of, sous vide style cooking as well, which is great. But, I know Darren's talked about being able to take a brisket off the smoker and just go pop it in without having to cool it down and then, bag it and deal with all that. So, I mean, there's some convenience factors that have been really cool for me. And like I said, it's just been the convenience of it being out. I use it all the time. And I found, even I did a couple chicken breasts on top that I cooked, with the probe and did the whole sous vide express thing. But then I bagged up another like 8 chicken breasts and put them down underneath. And the results on both, whether it was in the bag, out of the bag, it was identical, the way it came out. So it's been a lot of fun. I haven't pushed it as far as I want to. Like I haven't gotten to play with those yet just because the holidays were really busy. But it's been a lot of fun to experiment with for sure.
So have you explored many other cuisines outside of the burger cuisine? I know you love tapas and Thai food. Have you adapted any other dishes to sous vide?
Well, I'm barred from cooking Thai food in my kitchen because 10 years ago I tried it twice and ruined it. And my wife said I'm never allowed to try it again.
What were you making that failed so miserably?
I tried pad Thai twice and I just couldn't. I think it was 10 years ago, ingredients were a lot harder to get. And I think where it's saying like use tamari and you're like, okay, I can't get that. So I'm gonna use soy sauce or, that was part of it. And I haven't tried again.
And having the correct ingredients seems to be one of the keys to doing semi-authentic things. I was really inspired when Kevin and Carmen from Kind of Cooking came on Exploring Sous Vide, and they were talking about, a lot of their childhood meals that they had grown up eating were like Chinese, like traditional Chinese food. And so they were talking about the ingredients in it. And I asked them, like, what's the equivalent of like the Italian, garlic, olive oil, red wine vinegar, white wine vinegar? Like, what's that like the pantry staples? And so he gave me some and said, like, they're hard to find online for a reasonable price. You kind of have to go to like Chinatown. And then the pandemic hit. And I was like, I'm not getting on the subway to go to Chinatown. So Kevin would be, I'm sure, horribly offended. I spent like $40 on probably what he can get for like $15. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to pay the 3 times markup. And so I got a lot of the like traditional like Szechuan and Cantonese ingredients, the black vinegar and the shallots, or however you say it, cooking wine and a bunch of those things. And a lot of the dishes are like really, really simple. It's just using those ingredients that all come with their own flavor profiles, combining them together. Like, it's just like making Italian food. Like, you went through your ricotta phase. Like, there's nothing complicated by using lemon juice and capers and olive oil, but they have such a bold flavor, and using Szechuan peppercorns and some black vinegar and some of the cooking wine. Like, it's just a super flavorful, interesting dish that's like nothing else I ever cook.
Yeah, I did similar with that. And it's the same thing. Like my stir fries, as opposed to using, a bottled teriyaki sauce, I'm now using the Shaoxing, or however, Kevin, help us, please. I'm sorry. The black wine. And I actually went to 3 different Asian markets here in Baltimore, and 2 of them had nothing. But one of them I found almost everything. The only thing I couldn't find in store was the rose wine. So I had to get that from that was really hard to find, even online. Like nobody had it. So, but it's once you sort of know what the base ingredients are, it really makes it fun to play around, and you can get more authentic flavors than just using the jarred stuff that we have. I think Darren said something earlier about a mole, and I actually just got my mother. Let's see, it's like my wife's grandma. So I think it's my wife's great grandma's recipe, something like that. But there's no quantities. There's like, here's all the ingredients. And I bought the peppers. I just haven't done it yet. But it's something that I'm trying to perfect. So yeah, I really like looking at different cultural cuisine. I love Mexican food, but I love Italian food. I do. Probably one of my most common is like a chicken Milanese, where, just the perfect sous vide chicken breast, and then you do a simple panko breading. You can use some Parmesan cheese. You don't have to. And then just do a quick pan fry. And then I did one last week. It was actually ended up being our Christmas dinner, where I stuffed the chicken breast with sun-dried tomatoes and mozzarella cheese. Then I cooked it sous vide. Then I panko fried it. So it was like a stuffed Milanese.
Nice.
And that between that, marsala, and there's just so much in an Italian cuisine that you can play with. I do a ton of Italian.
I love Italian cuisine. I love a good mole. I have one kind of a go-to one that I put together that I just love making. Dave LaForce says, what are the ingredients for the Chinese pantry? I would say, because I can't remember off the top of my head, but I would say go to Kind of Cooking's website.
Yeah.
Click on like the top like 6 recipes of theirs that look good, and look at what ingredients they are using and like that are common in a lot of those, and go for it. It's it's the dark soy sauce, it's the black vinegar, there's the Shaoxing
wine.
Yeah, wine.
Yep.
Szechuan peppercorns are pretty easy to find. So just look at kind of their top like 6 or 7 ingredients and use that, because then the next question is, I know, sorry, he says, work. Yeah. But because the next question is always like, well, how do I use these ingredients then? And it's the same answer. Go to Kind of Cooking, look at their stuff, because they do amazing, like simple, good food that's like well done. That's not intimidating, and they have a great style that's not an intimidating approach. So check out Kind of Cooking. They will get you all the way to where you need to go.
And they don't only do Asian food. I use their pumpkin. They did it blew my mind when I watched the video. They did a whole pumpkin cheesecake in the water bath, and I mean, that was tons of fun, kind of watching them through the process of figuring out how to do it. But I got the APO, and that was one of the first things I did. Was I used their recipe, and I just did it in the APO, and oh my gosh, it is such a delicious cheesecake. It's probably the best one that I've had. I mean, it was just fantastic.
We need to get Kind of Cooking on one of the upcoming showcases. This is making me hungry. I haven't seen their video in like a month. I need to. I need my fix. This is rough.
So maybe I need to. I actually have a video that you don't have of theirs. We are going to be doing a farm showcase this year at some point, and they did an awesome pork belly video that I'll have to send your way. But that will be coming to the public very soon.
Very cool.
As soon as we get that on.
Speaking of people making content, I know that you've done, I think it's your Eggs Benedict lentils bowl is one of them. Yep. You've done a few different recipes that are all in our Champions of Sous Vide network with the ISVA. Yep. Can you talk a little bit about what the Champions of Sous Vide network is and what we have in it?
Yeah. So, basically what we wanted to create is a community outside of social media that is really focused on delivering content, and also just a safe place to network. I mean, there's so much animosity out there these days, and I think we try to police the groups as best as we can. When there's like, oh, don't cook that sous vide, or oh, that's crap, all of this. But we really just wanted to bring. We wanted to have a safe place for people to sort of share and experiment. And hey, if you're doing something that, nobody's going to go poop on your idea because, it's something that they wouldn't do themselves. And so that's really, I think, kind of what was the motivation for developing it. And inside there, there's 2 membership levels. There's a free membership, and the free membership gives you access to the community. You have access to all the recipes. Of course, the places to network and hang out. And we share different bits of content in there. As things come up, we'll share little clips from the showcase and stuff. And a lot of this is stuff that we're building. We're still building out. Then there's a VIP membership, and it's really inexpensive, but it sort of helps support all of these. The showcases are free. All of these, the work that we're doing to try and bring the community together. And we have, for our VIP members, all the showcase recordings are included. All of the session recordings from our different events and the summits are in there. And so, we're really we're kind of building a content library that's really easy to sort of get around and a fun place to engage with each other.
Yeah, I love the VIP area, just with all the recordings from, the big virtual event we did. It's like over 36 sessions, the showcases, that's another like 15, 20 videos of people doing amazing sous vide meals, and it's just going to keep growing. So it's a fun place to get a lot of inspiration from people that have been on the show, some of the biggest names in the industry, as we like to say.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really been fun. And I think we even have the audio recordings that we got from the first summit. So if you're new to us, but you really want to dig into even back to our first conference, the audio's in there for that as well.
Yep. Well, Mike, I appreciate you coming on. If people want to get a hold of you, they can email you at mike@theisva.org. So all of you listening that want to contribute demos, if you want to just contribute written recipes to start with, or you just want to keep up to date on what's going on, send Mike a note. Say hi to mike@theisva.org. We love working with people of all levels in the community, from Chef James Bricione and AJ Schaller, at the top of the cooking game, down to people like me and Mike. We like having everyone around. So don't hesitate to reach out, because you're good enough for our stuff, because we want you to contribute.
Absolutely. And follow us on Instagram too at the ISVA, and my personal Instagram is Souvangelist, which it was when I had that brainchild and changed it a few months ago. That was exciting. But make sure, as you're posting on Instagram, tag your posts with hashtag sous vide shot, because James from JB Sous Vide is running our social media, and every day we share a post from somebody who's tagged that. So get your content out there so we can feature it.
Well, everyone, I appreciate you coming on. Mike, thank you so much for joining us. That was great.
Lots of fun. Always a pleasure, and great just hanging out with everybody. Thanks for having me.
And remember, everyone, you can join us live every Thursday when we record these episodes. You can ask the guest questions, talk to the other cooks in the comments, and even see our smiling faces. So join us Thursdays at afmeasy.com/show. This has been Exploring Sous Vide. We're all about helping you get the most out of your sous vide machine while talking to some of the biggest names in the industry. So next time, I'm Jason Logston. See y'all next Thursday.
See you, everybody.